Good morning, freedom fighters. It is 9:01 a.m. East Coast time, January 12th, 2026. The world is about to change as we know it. Very, very heavy stratospheric aerosol injection taking place over Florida, Gulf of Mexico, Louisiana, Mississippi, into Arkansas from Texas, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina. My buddy's showing me that every airline company is taking place in this spray. He has showed me aircraft company after aircraft company. Let me go through a couple of these, would you? United. Never heard of this one. It's hard to read the plane. L Grant or something. I don't know that one. I don't know, that might be American. Southwest. L Grant, whatever that is. Another one of that. They're adding this stuff on these aircrafts, and I wonder if these pilots even know what's going on. Truly incredible what we are seeing. Nothing natural about this whatsoever. Very heavy spraying taking place. It's going to be extremely cold here, but I see in 47 right now in Newport Richey. Chicago this week, the forecast when the next front comes through, it's going to be at their low temperatures 18 on Saturday with 5 degrees for a low. That's their high temperature, 18. Sunday's 13 for a high and 10 degrees. They could turn off the power and freeze millions and never tell us on their brainwashed computers like TV. They're brainwashing actors like on the news. Extreme cold temperatures, to say the least, for days. I imagine they'll catch a few fish, and I've sold all my nets. I just have my boat left. I want to run away, but there's nowhere to hide, is there? It's going to be colder in Georgia and Chicago and stuff than it is in Anchorage this coming week. They've had nothing but snow, and it's going to be 22 degrees in Georgia on Thursday. Sitka, Alaska on Thursday. It's going to be 42 for a low and 45 for a high. It's going to be raining. We're going to be colder here in Florida than we are in Alaska. Extremely heavy spraying, my friends. I really don't know what to do with all this. You can see the ripples. This is live over the Gulf of Mexico. You know, the Coast Guard hasn't recognized the president's term of Gulf of America yet. I just learned that in class. The only reason one of the instructors was like, "Do anybody know why they changed the name of the Gulf?" And I said, "Yes, I do. They destroyed every law protecting it." He said, "Yes, that is correct." One of our instructors for for the navigation aids, he came in and taught us all the buoys and stuff. We're being lied to, my friends. If you think Venezuela's still about drugs, you got to be waking up by now. It was never about drugs. Venezuela has nothing to do with our drug market that they're destroying our people with. Very heavy ripples over Pennsylvania. I don't like Wendy anymore. I'm not going to renew my thing this year. They've really manipulated it. Let's put it in play and you kind of see what I mean. It's just no amount of time whatsoever. And it's usually really funky looking, but that's pretty smooth right there. You can see how these aircraft trails are being sprayed and how they spread out. Let's put it on the bigger picture. My buddy Mike just sent me another picture. Yeah, it's just very heavy trailing. Let's go outside and make a video and I'll add it to this. Let's go see what I can see. I'll put it on my phone and just add the clip to it. Definitely heavy trails to the south. Big one there. Whole thing's whited out. Oh yeah, there are just lines everywhere. Hey doves, sorry about that. They're eating food. Had 2 doves. Holy cow, they're thick. Not hardly hear any kind of wildlife except for the humans. Spraying us heavy. And nobody notices it. Kind of a crappy, just overcast from all the trails. Tonight's fallout would be unreal. I hate losing my fishery, selling everything. They might make a little bit of money this month, but I gotta get out of here. Try to make a living somewhere. Oh, mercy. Standing by. That was outside just now. My buddy in the middle, about 100 miles south. I don't know how far it is all the way across there. He's about an hour away, I guess, to the east of where I live. He was showing me very heavy spraying over his house. But look how these ripples, it's very unusual ripples, spraying over Ohio. You can definitely see some trail in there. Pause it. It's like they're spraying in Michigan. Illinois has probably got some spray in that. We're being lied to with every breath. Heavy spraying in Texas, definitely. This is 2 minutes ago. They sprayed all night. Look at that. That's 3 hours ago. We should have nothing but blue skies, and that's all I see above the spray. Cannot believe what they are getting away with. Did anybody see what the attacks was like in Venezuela? We have no power against these people. I'm going to play you a clip here. Stand by. This is coming from the real BP Earthwatch. I guess that's how you say it. My whole life, we've known that the government's technology is 50 years ahead of ours, so we have no real idea what they have and what they're using. But microwave energies and stuff, I've seen them disperse a crowd in New York City on a thing. Very unusual photos with the president with a dirty shirt and with blood on it, and his t-shirt underneath is very clean, very suspicious. But watch this 7-minute clip here, and it's about the attack, what went down. Thank you, Warriors, for your time.
January the 10th, 2025. Guys, there's a little more information coming out on that raid in Venezuela. We've heard several times from inside the administration how precise it was, how no soldiers were hurt, no U.S. soldiers, and that at first maybe 40 of the Cuban soldiers that were protecting Maduro were killed and shot. But even Carolyn Levitt, the White House, is talking about something a little bit different now. They're saying that the U.S. used a powerful sonic weapon that brought Venezuelan soldiers to their knees, bleeding through the nose and vomiting blood during their daring raid to capture Nicolas Maduro. This was according to a witness, as the county post was on Saturday on X by the White House Secretary Carolyn Levitt. Now, that's very interesting because they have, if we know about it, Mexico knows about it, and they've been told, just like Cuba, you could be next. And so if they are, especially if it's coming out of the White House about this information, this newer technology, it's not brand new, but the way that the guy described the soldiers was very unique also. He said he'd never seen anything like that, and that they seemed to be firing hundreds of rounds per minute, and that possibly hundreds of soldiers were killed. In a jaw-dropping interview, the guard described how American forces wiped out hundreds of fighters without losing a single soldier, using technology unlike anything he has ever seen or heard. We were on guard, but suddenly all of our radar systems shut down without any explanation. The guard said the next thing we saw were drones, a lot of drones flying over our positions. We didn't know how to react. They were blocking out the radar and communications and everything else. It says moments later, a handful of helicopters appeared, maybe 8 by his count, dropping what estimated were just 20 U.S. troops in the area. Could be. By those few men, he said, but those few men came armed with something far more powerful than guns. They were technologically very advanced, the guard recalled. They didn't look like anything we fought against before. Was this, are we already dealing with AI or robotic troops? Or a hybrid? No, now we've seen that, again, Cuba, Mexico, a couple other nations have been warned about the U.S. troop involvement, trying to stop the narco-terrorism chain that crosses South America, try to stop it and cut it out. Now, it's interesting also that in the video early this morning, we talked about Trump was sending in another 1,000 troops. Already had 2,000, that would put 3,000 there. And if he signs the Insurrection Act, then it will become a military operation very quickly. And he may be giving a signal to more than just Cuba and Colombia and places like that, guys, because if he's talking about doing this and he lets this information out, who's going to stand up against it? What ensued, this guard said, was not a battle but a slaughter. We were hundreds, but we had no chance. He said they were shooting with such precision and speed, it felt like each soldier was firing 300 rounds per minute. Then came the weapon that still haunts him. At one point, they launched something. He said, I don't know how to describe it. It was like a very intense sound wave. Suddenly, I felt like my head was exploding from the inside. Guys, that ends the battle. He said the effect was immediate and horrific. We all started bleeding from the nose again. Some were vomiting blood. We fell to the ground, unable to move. We couldn't even stand up after that sonic weapon or whatever it was. And he must be, again, one of the survivors. The White House did not immediately respond to a question regarding whether Carolyn Levitt's sharing of the post, which included the caption, "Stop what you're doing and read this," possibly indicating the administration was verifying the veracity of the eyewitness account. And it's amazing because We don't know what the U.S. military has, whether it's a UFO or high-tech planes or high-tech weapons. We may never know, but I'm glad they're on our side. But again, any weapon can be used for good or bad. It said now an estimated 100 Venezuelan security forces were killed in the January 3rd attack. Initially, remember, it was 40. This was according to the country's interior ministry. It is unclear if any of those were caught by the mystery weapon. The outmatched defenders were helpless as the small U.S. unit wiped them out, the guard said. Those 20 men without a single casualty killed hundreds of us, he claimed. We had no way to compete with their technology, with their weapons. I swear I've never seen anything like it before. He continued, he said, I'm sending a warning to anyone who thinks they can fight the U.S. They have no idea what they're capable of. After what I saw, I never want to be on the other side of that again. They're not to be messed with. The guard said the raid had already sent shockwaves across Latin America, especially after President Donald Trump recently warned that Mexico is now on the list. He said everyone is already talking about this there. No one wants to go through what we went through. What happened here is going to change a lot of things, not just Venezuela, but throughout the region, guys, and throughout the world. If they can do that, imagine if you had that same technology applied to a ship that won't pull over, like the way they are confiscating oil and stopping these, what they call ghost ships. It could be done anywhere, football field, stadium, over a street that's running rampant with riders, like we saw last night. Maybe on a smaller scale, I don't know. But it's pretty amazing to me that they even talked about it, and it has to be, to me, to send a signal. And if you remember, Lindsey Graham has been posting these warning messages to Iran about messing with the U.S. So again, this information, I'm sure, has gotten back to Iran because they have 3 different proxies inside of Venezuela. Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthi groups are embedded there, waiting to take their or make their move on the U.S. Why else would they be there? I know they're profiting from the narco trafficking, but why would you have those groups in there? And again, what has happened to Venezuela's military? Doesn't seem to exist if you got that many Cuban troops on the ground. Anyway, guys, we're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.
Now, I've been studying a little bit on the fentanyl and where it comes from. I don't know why they keep saying Venezuela when it's over 1,000 miles away. But producers largely source from China. Fentanyl comes from Mexico. Why would they bring it to Venezuela? It's being produced in China. It's the payback for the opium wars. If you ever done that research on China and the opium, we put large part of their population on drugs, and this is being repaid to us now. They've destroyed our people. My friends that got on any kind of drugs has lost their lives. But it is coming from Mexico, not Venezuela. Mexican cartels. Stand by.